serious?
Close to the camera.
See,
he's 5 pounds right now.
We're here at the media day for the 2021 Bassmaster Classic on Ray Roberts.
this is a tank. Look at the size of this thing.
Progress we've made so far on our Hobie PA14. Got it wired up for 12 volt right now. We got the P127. That money!
That's a monster!
Got one. Took him long enough, didn't it? He knows.
You know that's your outro.
I know, but I mean, like, I was waiting on you.
All right, everybody. Thank y'all for joining in to One Objective tonight. Guys, we've got a good show lined up for you tonight. This is a guest that I have been working on to get on for a while with his super busy schedule. And just trying to work guests in. We're finally able to get the Flukemaster, Jensen, on tonight. We're excited about getting him on tonight. But before we get into that, just want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I will say this. We are getting a lot of snow. We're getting now it's a lot of ice and a lot of wind. So if things go, I'm sorry. We'll try to carry this on another day. But the power flickered a couple times. It seems like it's calmed down a little bit. But if it just goes dark, then you possibly know what happened. So doing things a little different tonight. We got Chris. He's running the show from his house tonight. Chris, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing pretty good.
I think this works out pretty easy. You ain't gotta come all the way over here. You know what I mean? You got everything at your
I don't mind coming over. So.
Oh, I know. I don't mind coming over either. Yeah. We always have a good time. But
it's just like basically being there.
Yeah, but like days like this weather and all that, you got to venture out, and we got to cancel a show because of it. You know.
Yeah, so that makes it a whole lot better.
Yeah. So, excited to be getting this show going on. I know things here in the next couple of weeks are gonna get kind of slow with the show, just because we're gonna be heading down to Texas. Been getting everything ready, man. It's been a grind. We're just trying to make sure we got all orders out. We're trying to make sure that we got our boats, fully rigged, and then we also got customer boats coming in and out. So trying to get all that lined up so all this is going to work for the Bassmaster kayak series, and then also the Hobie BOS series. But like I say, getting really excited about this. I think this is going to be a fun year for us. But we're really, really excited to be sharing our adventure with you guys and all our traveling and things we run into and getting ready for and all that. So really, really excited to get this going. Me and James been wanting to fish a tournament series, like a full big tournament series for a long while now. And we finally got signed up for the Hobie the other night, which they just, released where you can sign up. And then they also have the new rules up and all that. So really, really looking forward to this. But before we get Gene on, if all you guys that are listening or girls that are listening on YouTube and Facebook, please hit the like button. Please hit the share button. We want to share this with everybody, and let's get some people in here. We're going to learn about fishing. We're going to talk about bass fishing tonight. We're going to talk about fishing in the cold water. I know it's a tough time, and right now is a great time to talk about it, being it's just as cold as it can be outside. So we're going to talk to Gene about that. But like I say, if you can, just please go in there and share. If you're following on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment. We got comments coming in right now. And then also, please hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to us. And then one more thing, if you listen to this podcast, if you listen to it now on iTunes, please, write us a review. You don't have to write a review. You can just give us a, hopefully a 5-star rating. But anyways, Chris, let's not keep him waiting no longer. Let's go ahead and get Gene Jensen on here. What's going on, Gene? How you doing tonight, man?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, Josh. How about you?
Not too bad, man. I appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. Like I say, y'all actually got pretty lucky with the storm system down there. So, and you're leaving for Florida first thing in the morning. So hopefully you ain't got to worry about no road conditions, really.
No, yeah, I'm leaving at 4 a.m. Going to head down there. You have to leave from my house between 4 and 4:30, or you hit Atlanta rush hour traffic. So, yeah, I have to time it.
Yeah, we went down there to Dugout Baits, and we had a schedule. Like, we're going to go down there, pick our kayaks up, and we got to be gone by this time. Well, you know how it is when you go to a tackle store and you're talking fishing with everybody. Yep. You're like, there forever. We hit Atlanta at 5:30 coming back home, and I was like, we'll never make this mistake again. So,
oh yeah, it's all about the timing. It's crazy.
Yeah. So you getting ready to go down to Florida? What for guys that don't know, a lot of us do know, but what are you getting ready to go down there, and what are you getting ready to compete in?
I'm going to compete this year in the Invitational, the 2 Trail Series tournaments, and the Pro Series tournament for KBF.
So yeah, so you got, and then you're going to fish. You're going to fish the whole entire series. I mean, tournament series this year. Like
yes. Yep. That's the big change, is that I'm tired of just kind of playing around and piddling with each, with tournaments and picking and choosing which ones I want to fish. So I said, I'm going to fish as many as I possibly can schedule this year, and got the okay from my wife. And so, yeah, I'm going to be, I want to see what I can do. I'm going to get down and get really serious about it, and take that opportunity to not only film the tournament videos, but film a little bit of the pre-fishing, and then still teach along the way, because that's my passion. I want to make sure that I teach what I'm learning as I'm learning it. So, I wish I was set up to teach what I learned at the National Championship at Caddo, and how I was catching them each day and individually, because not a lot of people were fishing the way I was fishing, and I was catching 20, 30 fish a day. It's crazy.
Yeah. And do you find it really tough? Like, when you're just going out there filming, you know what you're doing. You're going to go out and you're going to film, and talk about. But when you're fishing a tournament, there's times where we get so focused on what you're doing that you actually forget the camera's even there. You don't think about talking or what you're doing.
Yeah.
You find yourself doing that sometimes, like you just don't even want to deal with the camera.
That, and I'm just horrible at B-roll. I'm horrible at that kind of stuff when I'm fishing a tournament, because I'm a competitor, and I stay focused on that. I remember to turn the camera on and off and the stuff like that, but I forget to talk about how I was catching them and that kind of stuff. I'm totally stealing a page from Greg Blanchard. I give him 100% credit for these videos that I'm going to attempt to put out, and I hope I can bring him up to his level, because he does such a good job of vlogging his tournaments and talking about how he's doing it and that kind of stuff. And so I told him straight up, I was like, I'm going to use your format and then try to make it my own as I get better and better and better at it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, dude, I'm excited. People, for so many years, I've been, outline. I've got an outline of video. I'm going to go through the bullet points. I'm going to make sure I hit everything, and then I'm done. And nobody gets to see who I am on the water, how I act, how I react to a good bite, and that kind of stuff. How pissed off I get when I screw things up, and that kind of stuff. And I just want people to basically see how it's done in my brain, and not particularly in anybody else's brain, because I do it a little different.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Greg does do a good job when it comes like say telling the story, I guess, building it up, and then just kind of leaving you at the end like, man, that was what just happened. That was a good show, So
yeah, you forget you're watching it. I mean, it's just one of those things, you forget that you've been watching it for 30 minutes, and I'm like, this is just awesome.
Yeah. But like you say, you've always done a really good job at teaching. I enjoyed the episode. Me and James has been going through at night, just watching fishing videos, and we've been watching Edwin Evers' series that he's been doing, and we watched all the ones that you did with him on, with rigging a kayak, to how you got started in YouTube, and you and him going out fishing and competing, and that was really, really good. But like say, kind of, you've always done, like say, teaching. That's what you love to do, and you've done a really good. I've learned a lot from you. Things I do is because of what I've learned from you, and but to be able to roll it into where you're bass boat fishing and kayak fishing, it really doesn't matter. The things you're teaching, it really doesn't matter what boat you're in, or if you're fishing from the bank or whatever, But how do you, when it comes up to these things, do you just say, hey, it's this time of the year, I want to teach this? Is that how you work it all out?
It's totally seasonal patterns, because then that starts the trends and that kind of stuff. I've got on my calendar, I've gone through Google Trends, and I've done a lot of research through them. And on my calendars, I have, these are the days I'm going to start pre-fishing or pre-spawn videos. This is when I'm going to start post-spawn videos, and this is when I'm going to end them. And I just know the period of time where those videos are going to perform better than other times of the year. Yeah. And then, then another big change this year is I'm back to editing my own videos. I'm tired of My son was great. He did a great job. He's still going to edit a few of them, but he's in college. He's in high school, and he's 17 years old, and his give a damn is busted. And so it's just one of those things. I'm just going to go back to doing my thing. And I was a scoutmaster for 25 years. And when they get 16, 17 years old, it's a whole different world. I mean, they just, I tell them they get the disease called 16 and 17,
Man, my son is 12 right now, and we're in a go-kart racing, and it seems like his give a damn is not even working either sometimes. Like, I'm like, hey man, we need to do this or this, and he's just standing there looking at me like I'm stupid or something. And I'm like, so now I'm scared because I'm like, man, is it just going to get worse? But But we got a question here from Chris. It says, I'm curious if you guys use a camera. Do you let it roll all day with external power and edit later, or do you hit the button and record multiple loops?
So on a GoPro, they have a setting called looping. And there's plenty of YouTube videos on it for whatever GoPro you're using. Some other cameras do have looping and that kind of stuff. My Sony does not, but I set it on 5-minute looping. And I always recommend people are getting started, put it on 20-minute looping because you're going to forget to reach back and hit the button. And so you put it on looping, set it up, hit the record button, and go fishing. And after you've caught a fish and you've done everything, you reach back and stop it and start it again. And you just save the last 5 minutes or 20 minutes of video. And if you don't go hit the stop and start, it will record over that. And so you save SD card. And then I also use external power. I've got one of the Dakota Lithium boxes, the power boxes. I plug it into and run me all day. Or I also can plug it directly into my boat and run it off of the Dakota Lithiums that I have up front.
Yeah, and that seems that especially doing it in a kayak, it's so much more thought out to film, So like in a bass boat, you can put that thing right there in the back pole, or like you have a mount up front as well on your boat that you use, and you're kind of right there and you're personal with it. So but yeah, no, it's good to get a little info on filming and all that, and especially some of these guys that are kind of getting out there filming and trying to start their own YouTube. And it's like you've always said, like, if you're talking about it, how come you ain't already started it, so you should
I tell them.
yeah so but anyways, let's kind of get into your like I said, we talked a little bit about how your season's going. What I know you said you're going to try to fish all of them. What events right now do you got on mind that you're going to be fishing? I'm
definitely not gonna be able to fish all of them because some of them are too close to each other and too far to travel. Yeah. But I'm fishing the Kissimmee down south, and then I'm going to go fish South Carolina because that lake beat me the first day. I didn't even get a bite the first day at last year on Lake Murray, and I love Lake Murray. I fished it for many, many years, so I should not have done that bad. But the second day I did pretty good. Now and then from there I'm going to go to Arizona, fish Roosevelt. Come on the way home, hit Shreveport, Louisiana, fish those. And then, so that's a month-long trip, I think, month and a week. And then come home a few weeks later, fish Gunnersville. I think fish Gunnersville, yeah. And then go to Utah in June, fish Utah. And come home, and I'm going to try to swing some Hobies after that. There's some Hobies that are going to I might be able to fish. It's not in stone right now. I got the new P127, so I can finally fish Hobies because I refuse to paddle. And then after that, I don't think I'm going to be able to fish anymore. I was going to go up and fish the Lake Erie one, but it's over the day before I cast, and I am not driving from Ohio to Florida overnight. Just not going to do. And I've got to be down there on Monday, so that's when I pay my bills. That's when my sponsors start. That's when I work for my sponsors.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like us with we looked at bass and then Hobie, and we looked, there's a couple of KBF events that we looked at too with the Potomac and all that. But the Hobie and bass, they are basically almost, if you look, a weekend apart from one another. So like, man, that's a tough.
Yeah, I had to choose. I want to try to do some Hobies, and and bass was too late getting their schedule out for me. Yeah. I had to say, you know what? I can't wait on them anymore. I've got to make decisions. So I have to plan 6 months ahead of time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And, and you got a really busy schedule, and I look at it this way. That's where I was getting irritated with bass, because I love bass. I love supporting bass because of all they do. But when it comes down to the kayak side, it's like they drop the ball when it comes to schedules. You know what I mean? Or just getting the schedule out.
Yeah, no, yeah. I hate to be really, really picky towards them, but it's just doesn't seem that organized.
Yeah.
And I leave every tournament feeling like I'm the little stepchild that just
Yeah.
You show up and then okay, go away.
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of how I felt.
Yeah, and hopefully things will change. I hope that they make some more changes and trying to keep doing this for several more years and turn it into something big. And I was hoping that they were going to kind of model some things off of both other platforms, and try to, and they did to an extent, but there is some things like say scheduling. There's a lot of people, man, at their jobs, they only got so much vacation time, so they got to schedule this stuff in, and it just being so late, it was tough. So, but I ain't going to bash bass anymore because I like bass.
Yeah. It can be fixed, and that's exciting about it. I'm one of those guys that if I'm going to complain about something, I want to help fix it too. So
yeah, exactly right. So, well, Gene, like I say, I hope we get the opportunity to fish against one another, and at some point this year. I know we plan on fishing all of the Hobie events except maybe Chickamauga, which I hate that because I really want to fish Chickamauga.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to go up north, and because the following weekend it's I can't think of the daggone name of that lake. But anyways, and I'd probably butcher the name anyways. But we're gonna go up there and fish that one definitely. So I think Chickamauga might be the one that we're not able to fish, but everything else it looks like a green light. So I don't know. We're gonna see, but you're getting your kayak all rigged up now. Yeah, I seen you had Westbrook down there doing some work for you, and
Yep. That's I got the electrical done. It's all ready now. It's completely rigged, but I haven't done a video to show everything else, which is what's going to come as soon as I get to Florida and get it all set up. I'm going to finish that video. And so I'm excited, man. I've got it. If you guys saw my post on Instagram about Westbrook and the way we set it up, is I've got a battery switch up front, a dual battery switch, and I'm gonna. Sometimes I want to run a 60 amp up front. But sometimes I want to leave that 60 amp out and put 100 in the back to maybe weight reasons or whatever else. Or I can run them both at the same time if I've got a tournament where I know I'm going to be just running and gunning all day. And so I can have a total of 160 amps on there. Now, that may be maxed out the weight for a bona fide between my fat butt and all the batteries I have in there. But being able to switch between a battery up front and a battery in the back, or having both run at the same time is really, really, it's something I just wanted to try this year to see if I love it. And then I've also got it set up. It's also a system. If something goes wrong, I can fix it on the water. Everything that I do is redundant. Everything I do has, on fishing in the tournament world, I have backups for just in case something goes wrong.
Yeah.
So it's almost ridiculous, but it's just the way I am, I guess.
Well, when you travel and you're gone as far as you are, some of these things are hard to get right now anyway. So you got to try to get what you can to have just in case. So, but before we go any further, Chris, you said we got right many questions coming. I see Casey Starnes has got one right here.
Yep.
Gene, what's your go-to line, your go-to weight? What was that again, Chris? I just missed
the weight line for the bait caster.
Yeah.
I use 15 pound the most. I use Seaguar Braze X is what I use a lot of. I use 15 and 17, and now if you go heavier, their new 22 pound Tatsu, which is their high dollar stuff. If you look at it closely, it's the same exact line diameter as their 20 pound Tatsu, but it's 22 pounds, which means it's about a 24, 25 pound breaking strength. So I've been using that this year, and it's stout, especially right here on Rocky Mountain, catching the giants we catch down here. It's been some good line, but mostly a Braze X, and 15 is what I use the most. 12 for shallow cranking, 10 for deep cranking.
Yeah. Nice. Chris, what we got next, buddy?
Well, hold on, let me do this one first. That goes back to the camera.
1080p. 1080p is what I use the most, Chris. It's easier. It's smaller files. Don't do 4K because who watches stuff in 4K on YouTube? And, you know, and I know YouTube supports it and everything, but your files are so too big, way too big, and so 1080p is just fine. And then
when you try to export something in 4K is ridiculous.
It is such a pain in the butt unless you got high dollar equipment everywhere and you know, terabytes of memory.
Yeah. What do we got next, Chris?
Going anywhere up north, like past the Mason-Dixon?
If I do, it's going to be for fun trips because I really like to get up there in the summer when it's, you know, in September. My tournament season's over in July. And so unless I fish a Hobie, like I said, I may fish a Hobie in August. That's probably when I'll end up doing it anyway. But I would love to get up north in September when I start to lose my mind down here and just I love it. I mean, Minnesota, Wisconsin, anywhere up in there, I love to get up there.
Nice. What else we got, Chris? I seen another one. There we go.
What's your first go-to in the winter?
Ooh, the first thing I usually grab is a blade bait. I've got a blade bait. Demiki, I think, makes it, if I remember correctly. But it's a blade bait, but it's got a tailspin on it, so it's the best of both worlds. Because I have a box that's only about this big. That's my wintertime box, you know, and it's got flutter spoons, it's got blade baits, it's got tailspins in various colors and weights and things like that. And that's it. That's my winter box. You know, and the last 5 fish I've caught this winter have all been 20 pluses. Here I go. I'm tooting my own horn here, but I was very proud of the fact that I'm using live scope. I'm looking down below my boat. I'm dropping it on their nose and getting them to react to it because they're not coming up off the bottom, so I can see how they're reacting, and I can jerk it until it hits them close enough in the head where they bite it. But those are the ones. I mean, I love to catch them on those hard baits in the winter. I mean, people throw Alabama rigs a lot. I'm not a fan. I never have been. I don't like putting that many hooks into the side of a fish just to get it into the boat.
Yeah.
You know? So
it does mangle them up pretty good. I mean, I've caught a lot of stripers off of it by accident, and it mangles them up really bad. I actually had one bass that I caught off of it one time where I had one hook through the eye and the other one down in the gill plate on the side of it, you know, and it mangled them up too bad. And, you know, it's hard if you're trying to keep these fish alive so we can keep catching them.
Yep.
And we fight so much for, you know, like just putting the little coal tags in their mouth, or they fight for so much with it, but then we're throwing A-rigs and tearing them up. And I do like an A-rig, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it catches them.
Yeah, but I don't throw it as much for one, the aggravation of it and the expense of all the baits you can lose at one time. Yeah. But like I say, because of that too, it does mangle them up pretty good. But before we go any further, any cold water questions and cold water baits, let's hold on to that. Let's go through a couple more questions here, Chris, if we got them. And then we're going to dig deep into how you fish those baits and your setup. What do we got next, Chris?
Have you tried the GoPro Max?
No, I have played around with one. As a matter of fact, Edward Evers' cameraman had one, Chris, and I got to play around with it, and I really like it. I like it a lot. And so I'm going to have to save my pennies for that one. But I'm definitely, when people go on my videos, I got those links down at the bottom to Tackle Warehouse. And I get it's an affiliate link, and I get a small percentage of whatever you buy at Tackle Warehouse. When I get that check every quarter, it goes towards camera equipment. So if you want to see me use a GoPro Max, you don't have to, but
yeah, every penny helps.
Every penny helps.
Yeah. Let's get one more here, Chris.
All right. Can you Texas rig or jig fish with braid line?
Yeah, definitely. I've never seen, except in super, super clear water, I've never seen where it has an effect. I don't like to, I'll be honest with you, down in Florida, I'm more likely to use 20-pound fluorocarbon than I am braid. I don't like the noise that the braid makes when it's coming through the grass. Even the Smackdown from Seagar, it's smooth, but it still makes a noise. And so I'm trying to keep it as quiet as I possibly can. Yeah.
Well, a lot of times and the only time that I've ever really switched to braid, like say Texas rigging, like say when you get down to Florida, I don't fish Florida, but if I fish something with a lot of grass,
punching. If I'm punching, I'm pulling braid and that kind of stuff. But with fluorocarbon, even through the lily pads, one of the tricks is when you get bit, don't pull them into the lily pads. Don't try to horse them out. Let them get wrapped around one of the lily pads and just play seesaw with them. Let them get worn out. Same thing with dock posts. Let them get worn out playing seesaw with them back and forth. And if you ever let that hook get up against the stem of that lily pad, they're going to pry it off and they're going to get loose. And so you let them wear out, and then you can pull them out and around it.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good question. Good question. So let's talk a little bit about cold water fishing, Gene. You're talking about how, what kind of baits you like to use and all that. Let's go into some setups and then we'll kind of go into some live scope stuff and how you're able to catch them through the live scope. But what you say your number one that you're going to start out with when the water temperature, let's say right now, I don't know what it is down here, but around here we're hitting 48-ish, something like that. What is your what are you going to start with?
I typically start with something I can fish faster. Flutter spoon works good. Something that I can cast out. If I'm looking side scan or down scan or whatever, if I get into an area that's got a lot of bait fish, then I can cast it out, let it sink to the bottom, flop it up and down, and I could really cover a lot more water than I typically would. Another good bait to do that is a lipless crankbait. Dragging it on the bottom, get it all the way down to the bottom. And it's kind of hard to explain. It's kind of like a Carolina rig drag. I drag it just enough to feel the vibration, and then I kill it. And I just let it. So it's just barely coming off the bottom, and it's falling back down. And I cover a lot of water if I feel like they're on the bottom, cover a lot of water that way. And so, but those are the two I usually start with. A blade bait works great, kind of like that, but I tend to have more success with a blade bait, fishing it more like a Texas rig, like little bitty hops and shakes. You know what I'm saying? You cast it out, little hops, little shakes, and not so much a long drag. So
yeah. Now, when you're doing these techniques, what are your line setups for that? I mean, because a lot of times when it's cold and you're fishing that kind of stuff, it's clear water. So do you try to go small diameter, or do you just kind of stick with one particular size? Or
that deep, I don't think it really matters. We're fishing, 15, 20, 25, 30 feet deep. It doesn't, to me, I don't think it really matters much whether you got it where you go really small. 12 to 15 pound test fluorocarbon is what I'm going to be throwing. I'm not one of those that rips fluorocarbon off and puts new stuff on just because I want to change line. I like to save money on line and that kind of stuff, but I have extra spools for my 13 reels. I got probably 15. They're $30 a pop, and over the years I've collected like 15 of them, and I have them labeled. I have this one that's got 15, this one's got 12, this one's got 20, this one's got braid, and I literally can pop one off, tape it up so it doesn't come all off, put the other one on, and go. And the concept reels, all the concept spools fit all the concept reels, so it really helps time, speed, and actually in the long run it saves a ton of money. From saving line. So
I could see that. That's a good tip there, because I know I'm not one to change a lot of line either. I'll kind of run it till I'm like, all right, she's starting to break a little. I need to probably do something with this. But for one, line's expensive right now. I mean, it just, but you got to pay for good line. You know what I mean? I've learned that. I've used cheaper stuff, and there is some cheaper stuff that's good, but 9 times out of 10, you got to pay a little bit more to get a really good fluorocarbon line. So
yeah, you definitely, with fluorocarbon, you get what you pay for.
Yeah. And I've learned that with, especially wintertime fishing, when the line's cold, it snaps easy sometimes. I went through a spurt with that with some cheap line. Actually, it was Berkeley
Vanish.
Yes, Berkeley Vanish. I don't know
how did I know that.
And I was like, I'm done. So then that's when I switched over to Seagar, and that's all I ever thrown now since then. But yeah. So when it comes to rod setups, like for for what all you're doing, I mean, let's kind of go into different. Are you using the same setup? Or do you change it up with, especially like a trap? I'm
still going to use a moderate power or moderate action rod. It's going to be a medium heavy moderate. So the ones I use are 7'4" medium heavy moderates. They're called the Chatter Crank rod from 13. And several different price points or several different models have that rod and that action and power. And so I'll use that one mostly, but just because I love how much it's got a good backbone, but it's got a parabolic bend. And so I would call it a little bit high. Most medium heavy moderates are a little bit flimsier than this one. This one's got a little bit more oomph to it. And so when I've got a horse of fish, especially with those blade baits and those and that kind of stuff. Now with a bigger flutter spoon, I like to throw the 5 and 6 inchers. I'm throwing it on a medium heavy, fast or an extra fast. That really doesn't matter to me. And then just praying he doesn't throw it when he jumps the first time.
Yeah, for sure. Now that, this time of the year, it can be really difficult sometimes finding fish, like you got days where they'll be shallow because it's good and sunny and they'll get up there and warm and you can really tear them up. And then there's days where it's really sunny, no wind, no nothing. You can't even find bait fish. What do you do when you go out there and you can't find bait fish? Do you keep looking, or do you just keep covering water until you find
just keep looking, because the bait fish are going to be in one area. You're gonna get to an area where it is wall to wall bait. So it'd been probably a month and a half since I fished Rocky, and the water temperature was in the high 40s, low 50s. It was like right at 50 degrees, and I spent 3.5 hours looking for bait. Before I probably 2 hours before I made my first cast. And so it's one of those things where once you find the bait, you're so close to finding those bass, because one, they're in a smaller area. The bass are going to be like catching them in a bucket. They're all going to be in the same spot, or they're going to be roaming with the bait. And so once you get into that area, then you can pretty much start chunking and winding.
Yeah. Because I've been at tournaments before. I come in from fishing and there's a tournament going on, and I'll talk to a lot of the guys, and especially some of the guys that didn't really catch them. They're like, man, I hardly got a bite. I couldn't even find bait fish all day. And I've run into that as well. We all do, but I think at some of the mistakes we make, we just keep fishing stuff, hoping we're going to stumble across it instead of maybe spending an extra time looking for bait fish so you can find those fish.
But
definitely. Yeah. I've seen that before, like in tournaments, guys say the same thing. Can't find a bait fish. I don't know where they're at. So,
well, back when I fished Clark's Hill out of a big boat all the time in the wintertime, if you pulled into a pocket and there wasn't balls of bait fish in there, you didn't even bother casting. You just cranked up and went somewhere else, because the bass may have been there, but you're going to have a hard time catching them because they're not going to be active. And it's just if you catch one, that probably is going to be the only one you catch. But if you get into a pocket that has a bunch of bait in it, once you catch one, you're going to be able to make that same cast and catch another one and another one and another one. And they're all going to be the same size. And a lot of times they're giants. So,
yeah, this is the time when you're going to catch your big one. This is a good time to catch your personal best from now until right before they start doing that transition of pulling up shallow, looking for their mate. So, but what's some spots that you start looking at? So when you put it in the water and you're like, all right, I need to go find bait fish. What are some of the spots you're looking for? Are you looking for points? Are you looking for channel swings? What are you?
The first thing I'm looking for is just depth. So I'm going to go out into the deeper water in the area and just look at my fish finder until I see a ball bait fish. And then I see another one, and I see another one. It don't even have to be big balls of bait fish, just something. And I try to get a kind of an idea of what depth all of those, or what is the average depth that all those bait are hanging at. Because they're still going to do that. They're still going to, and a lot of times, like later in the winter, you're going to get them to where they're just from top to bottom. They're just giant schools of bait, and they're top all the way to the bottom, even if they're 20 feet deep. And then you just start fishing the bottom, because you're going to find cover and structure. And that's another thing. Once you find the bait, you look for transitions. You look for changes in the contour. So drops or rocks or hard bottom over soft bottom. And that kind of stuff. And so I'll give you, for instance, on Rocky, there's a huge flat, probably 100 yards wide by 80 yards long. And it's part of a point, but it's really, really flat, and it's 18 to 22 feet deep. So it kind of tapers down. And there's 2 hard spots on it. And you can look at your side scan and see, because it's a lighter spot on your side scan than everything else. Everything else is silty dark. And if you can get positioned on those hard spots, even though you can't see bass, if the bait are in the area, the bass are going to be belly down on those hard spots. And you just throw something through there and just hold on tight. And so you're looking for that kind of stuff. And it's all about wanting to find the fish before you catch the fish.
Yeah.
And I teach that so much in my videos, is you've got to find the fish before you catch them. And you can either find them with your baits, which are the best way, or find them with your fish finder and then follow up with the baits.
Nice. Yeah. And that's what I was gonna kind of get at is also like on practice, when you start finding these bait fish, for guys that are tournament fishing, you start finding these bait fish. Do you sit there? Do you just try to catch one or two out of there and see the size and determine, okay, well, this school I'm going to save for later, or I'm going to come catch a limit here and then go try to chase another school? I mean, how do you save those fish, and how do you know, like, how far do those bait fish go sometimes too? Let's say you pull up on a point and you find them, I mean, how long do you chase them around the next day? Let's say tournament day, and you found these fish. How long do you,
Oh man, it really depends. But for me, before live scope, I wanted to try to catch one.
Yeah.
I wanted to try to at least catch one. But I've spent so much time and effort trying to get to know that new piece of equipment that I can almost tell you what size the fish are without catching them.
yeah.
And I can get a pretty good educated guess. And so 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to try to catch them if there's a large school of them, or if there's more than 6 or 7, I'm like, okay, I can probably find them tomorrow. But the biggest thing for me is making that decision on tournament day quickly, getting there and saying, okay, these fish aren't here anymore, go, or being able to go there and say, okay, the bait fish are active. Every once in a while, I see a fish coming up into the bait fish. So they're on the bottom. I just can't see them on my fish finder. Let's go fishing. That kind of stuff. You got to be able to make that decision and make it quick.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a tough one. I've had tournaments where I'm like, man, we have found a school of them. Let's just pray they're here. And you come back next day and you've scanned that point and there ain't nothing. It's like, where in the world did they go?
Yep. But, yeah. And for me, it's a confidence thing, and that's the tournament. I didn't catch a single fish on Lake Mary the first day of the trail series last year. I didn't get a bite, but I didn't leave that area because for some reason, this idiot never lost confidence in the area.
Yeah.
I knew there were fish there. I'd only fished that creek once in my lifetime, but I just knew they were there. I just could not get bit. And so, but I didn't leave because I didn't leave. But if I lose that confidence, it's how fast can I leave once I lose that confidence, or how fast can I change something?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Chris, I see some questions coming in through, but what all questions do we got here, man?
All right. How do you find small, under 7 foot moderate rods with any power? Seems like everything is fast, accurate, or over 7 foot. I do mostly accurate casting, so I prefer under 7 foot rods.
Woo. I typically look for, if you're looking for something that's got some power, I look for a medium fast. And I know exactly what you're talking about. So I used to fish my spooks, my lipless crankbaits, my 1/4 ounce shaky heads, my finesse jigs, buzz baits, spinner baits, everything on a 6'10" medium fast action rod. And it worked great. It was just like having a short, medium, heavy, moderate. You don't have that parabolic bend that prevents the fish from throwing it as easy, but I always loved it is the biggest thing. So try a medium fast, and you'll be surprised how much you like it.
That's good. Good question there. What do we got next, Chris?
All right. If you're on a small lake, and I mean very small, a few hundred yards long, and the bait fish are everywhere, how do you target the bass? And also, the lake is no more than 5 foot deep.
Oh my goodness. That's not hard because you don't have a long ways to go. The biggest thing is try to make your bait look different than the bait fish. Do something different. If you're using a fluke, dip the tail in chartreuse JJs, or if you're using a jig, use a jig that's got some chartreuse in it or something that's a little bit different. Stay out of the mud because that little lake's going to have soft bottom. And you're not going to be able to drag a jig. You're going to have to swim one. Or my favorite thing is in a lake like that, I have one bait that I keep in my pocket, and I have one rod in my hand, and I grab a Ned rig and a pocket with TRDs in it, and I throw it out. I let it sink to the bottom, and then I slowly reel it, twitching my rod tip just every once in a while, just slowly reeling it just above that mud. and you'll see what happens. That's my small lake soft bottom bait, and I'll probably fish that till the day I die.
Gosh, dog Ned rig. Every time I turn around, so I don't know what it is, man. I just hate throwing the Ned rig. Like if it's that bad, then I'm just gonna suck it up. You know what I mean?
Let me give you something that you need to do to fish a Ned rig to where you'll love just this technique. I'm not talking about you'll fall in love with the Ned rig.
Yeah,
just a technique. If you get into an area that has bluegill on bed, spawning bluegill, tie you on a TRD Ned rig, the 1/10 ounce, I think they call it, or something like that. Throw it out, let it sink to the bottom across that bluegill bed. Let me back up a little bit, show you. Put your elbows on your knees, and you're doing that to keep you from reeling too fast. And you're literally just doing this with that spinning rod.
Oh my gosh.
So it sounds like you're not fishing. It's just miserable, but it's not, because that head comes along those bluegill beds or rocks or whatever's there and just kind of ticks up, and it's dragging, and it ticks up and it ticks up. Dude, I've caught more giant fish off a bluegill bed doing that. And it's almost every cast. You know, really? I've got a video where I was talking about it's my fishing your first kayak tournament, and Jordan's there with me, and I had just earlier that day I'd handed him my spinning rod and showed him how to catch them, and he wouldn't do it. So I said, give me my spinning rod back. And I got it back from him. I made one cast. He wanted my spinning rod back with him, you know? So I love it. And I tell you, that is my favorite way to use a Ned rig, because it's like slow rolling a crankbait. It's exactly what it's like.
I had to try that. I had to remember to keep one tied on, especially for the kids. You know what I mean? Like you get out there and get the kids fishing, get them doing something like that, because they're moving. They can actually do something. So,
yeah, exactly.
What else we got, Chris?
We got a few more here. We got is chatterbait all year round bait? And he's coming from Clark Hill.
Yes, it is. And I know Clark Hill doesn't have near the grass it had when I was fishing it, but it's a year round bait anywhere in the country. Yeah. You just there's so many different ways to fish it. You know, I was throwing 1.25 ounce chatterbait the other day in 20 foot of water. I got one bite. I think I blew its mouth open. I think it scared the crap out of me so bad I set the hook too hard.
Yeah.
But but yeah, you can do so much with a dang jackhammer chatterbait. But yeah, it's definitely year round anywhere. But Clark's Hill, I would say, it'd be great. So,
yeah. Yeah, the daggone chatterbait, and I like throwing it. I do. I like throwing the jackhammer, and I actually like throwing some of the older chatterbaits as well too. But it's just crazy how well that bait has taken off and become like this. If you don't have it in your box, you know what I mean? Are you even fishing? That's what it seems like anymore. You know, like
yeah. And I hated to say that. I am the first one to tell you that I waited probably 6 years to throw a chatterbait.
Yeah.
I'm not one to go for the trends. I don't like fishing trendy baits. And that's the way I saw it, as like it was an overhyped trendy bait. I was so wrong. I was absolutely so wrong. And I count how many tournaments have been won on it, you know?
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
We've had a lot of guests on, and that have, you know, from Ryan Lambert to Jody Queen to I can name several others, you know what I mean? Christine Fisher, all these people. And granted, it might not always be the bait they threw all day, but then all of a sudden they're like, man, I just needed one more big fish. I took that jackhammer and I slung it out there, and boom, I caught my fifth fish, and it was 20 some inches, you know? And I'm like, that bait has won a lot of tournaments. You know,
if that bait can get Ryan Lambert to put a swim jig down, you know it's special.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy bait for sure. But Chris, what else we got here?
Do you use glass rods when throwing bladed jigs?
No. I think to be honest with you, in my opinion, I think the use of glass rods is old school, because the technology in carbon fiber these days is so good that it's in my mind, it's made glass rods obsolete, because you hear all these horror stories about losing fish on crankbaits and everything else. And then you ask them, oh, when did that happen? 20, 25 years ago. You know, I'm like,
yeah, well, you know, it's just like your cranking rods now. You got your composite rod or your like half glass, half
Mhm.
graphite or what, and I'd see. I mean, granted, I actually got a couple of them, and you can chuck a crankbait a long ways, and they feel really good. But there is other options out there as well, other
Well,
than glass.
I've lost and I used to fish glass, and I've lost so many fish. Yeah, you can chunk it a mile, but if a fish bites that mile away, you can't get a hook set in them.
Yeah,
And I'll never forget the first time I ever took my wife out on a boat. I chunked a DD22, something like it was a DD22 as far as I could throw it. Made 5 or 10 cranks, hooked into a fish. This fish come up out of the water. It was all of 8 pounds and threw my bait right back at me because I never got a good hook set.
yeah.
And so
I can see that.
when graphite started working better and when they started getting better at moderate rods, like when I first signed with 13, I went to their rod guy and said, and he had this rod called the Frankenstein, and he hates when I tell this story anyway. But I tell him, I was like, you guys don't have a cranking rod. You don't have any crankbait rods. I said, what's going on? And so I had this conversation, and the next year they came out with some really good cranking rods. But that chatter crank was a really good spinnerbait buzzbait rod, but it was not a cranking rod. And so it's great to see that happening. More and more good cranking rods out that are affordable. Mine are $80. The ones I use are $80 on the market. So
yeah, there has been some great advances in technology with rods. You got your rods that are super high end, and then you got some rods that are great for anybody that's to get a good collection of rods and don't have to spend a fortune. You know what I mean on rods. So, but speaking of that, what is your chatterbait rod? What is your chatterbait setup?
That's 7'4", medium, heavy, moderate. So it's called the chatter crank rod. But what if I'm buying them at Tackle Warehouse, I go in and I look at their regular, not their crankbait rods, but I look at their bait caster, their casting rods, and it will be the only moderate heavy rod under the bait casting or under the casting line.
Gotcha.
Because it's not really a cranking rod. It's too stiff to be a medium, heavy, moderate cranking rod. It's just right to be a spinnerbait, buzzbait, lipless crankbait rod.
Gotcha.
Chatterbait, of course.
What else we got, Chris?
Let's see here. We got do you use a trailer on your jackhammer?
All the time. And that's actually the secret, Rock. It really is. It's the it's how deep you want to fish it, what you want to look like, what you want it to look like. There's certain trailers you can use, like a regular Fluke or the blade minnow from Strike King. You can make it to where that bait will dart like this with very little turn of the handle. You do speed up a little bit, but once you speed up and give it that little tick, it will dart and really have a good hunting action. If you want it to come up a little bit, you use a paddle tail and something. The bigger the boot tail, the better, and it'll rise it up a little bit higher than like when I'm fishing grass and stuff like that. I want it to come over top of that grass. Gosh, there's so many different ones and colors and that kind of stuff. But that's the biggest thing is just understanding what the trailer does to the bait. Another thing you got to also understand is that blade can steal the water from the tail of your trailer. So 9 times out of 10, except for a longer boot tail, like a 4 3/4 inch swim bait boot tail, I'm going to be throwing something that's got a straight tail so that the action from the bait makes that tail work. But if you've got a boot tail, a lot of times that blade will steal the water and that boot tail will just hang limp and just go through the water like this.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty cool. I never thought about it. Now I will say this. Have you had trailers where I figured this out it was last year. I was actually throwing I think it was a missile shockwave, and I like those a lot, but I had it on a chatterbait and trying to come through cover. I kept getting hung up nonstop, and I never got hung up like that. Me and James actually made a joke about it. Every third cast, I was getting hung up, it seemed like. I mean, and we started just like, here we are, third cast. I just cast out in the middle of the lake so I wouldn't get hung up.
Yep.
But it seemed like it made that bait do this more. And when I did that, if I rolled over something, it always hooked it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of times that has to do with the shape of the bottom of either your trailer or the head of the bait.
Yeah.
The Project Z chatterbaits were horrible to get hung up in brush because they had a pointed head that was narrow And as soon as that head hit the wood, it would flop over on its side and then roll into the bait, and the hook would go and get over the limb. So the trick to fix that, if you're working an area, especially if you're throwing a chatterbait through brush, which I don't recommend to anybody with that's trying to pinch pennies, because you're going to lose them. But take a rage bug or some type of a beaver style bait, use it as a trailer, and put it on there to where that flat belly of that beaver trailer is where what rides over the wood. And so the head will hit it, the bait will hit it, and the bait will make it sit upright and keep the hook off of the wood 9 times out of 10. Even grass too. If you're fishing a lot of grass, it's running this way instead of this way.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's real good. What else we got, Chris?
Let's see. What do you do with your old kayaks when you get done after you get done using
them? They get handed down to my kids. I did sell a few last year. But as of right now, they're all the ones that I have. I'll put them online if I'm going to sell them, if that's what you're looking at, but it's not going to be this year. So, but my kids
just get kayaks.
Yeah, my kids are all old enough now to be able to paddle the full size kayak. So
yeah. Let's see what else we got. We got anything else, Chris? And then
we got a couple more here.
Let's get a couple more, and then we'll go into
what pound line would you fish a Ned rig with?
8 is the highest I'd fish. It's an 8-pound test. 6 or 8. I don't like to go 4 unless I'm just playing around.
Yeah.
So, I tried 2 the other day, but you can't. Don't ever try to tie a FG knot with 2-pound test.
Oh my gosh.
It breaks every time.
Yeah, that's already a difficult knot to tie sometimes, but much less with that small line. Oh my gosh. What else we got, Chris?
If you weren't using 13 brand rods, what other brand would you want to give a shot to?
Oh gosh.
Daiwa.
Wow. I'm sorry. I'm going to make you answer that, Gene.
Without even thinking, I don't mind. I love 13 rods and reels. I think they're the best deal on the market. But Daiwa would be my second choice.
Yeah.
You know, because they're good, stout. They're really good reels. And I don't know much about their rods. I haven't fished a lot of Daiwa rods. Mainly because the very first bait casting rod I ever bought was a Daiwa. It broke on day 2 casting a spinnerbait, and then they wouldn't warranty it. And so it was a $120 reel and rod, and I was a teenager. So I was not happy. So I never used another Daiwa rod because of that.
I think the only Daiwa that rod wise that I picked up was it the Steez? Is the Daiwa Steez or?
Oh yeah, big money.
Yeah, and man, that dude was light, but I'm like, gosh almighty, if I'd ever broke that, it'd be instant throwing up in the butt. Like my day would be done, you know. So I try to stay away from that if I can. So,
but what I always say about 13 is that I just feel like when I'm using the rod, when I'm using the reel, that I'm using something that's worth more than what it's retailed at.
Yeah,
you know, and you can't say that to some of the other companies that you hold it and you're like, oh yeah, this is a $300 reel all day long. No, you just can't say that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there is some stuff out there that you got to be careful. I always tell people when it comes to reels, go to if they have them, go to Bass Pro Shops or go to your local tackle stores and pick them up and try them, because you'd be surprised that people can really build hype up on some of this stuff, and then you get it and you're like, it don't work for me, because fishing is different for every single person out there. Nobody does anything the same, and nothing feels the same to everybody. So
right. Yep.
It's kind of like kayak fishing. Everybody wants to know your opinion or review on a kayak, but until you actually get in that kayak and try it, you know, is it right for you? So, but is that everything, Chris? We got a couple more.
I'm not sure what this is about, but what happened to the Ninja?
I still use it. It's the Yak Attack leverage landing net, and people call it my Ninja net because I can literally have the fish coming in the air as I'm reaching back for the net and have the fish under the net, so I can pull the net out and deploy it in 0.7 seconds, and catch the fish before it hits the water again. Yeah. And so many times I've had the net pop the fish up, the lures come out of the fish's mouth, and I'm already under the fish, catching the fish under the net.
Oh wow!
And so that's why they call it my Ninja net. It's just, they see it when I'm in a lot of my videos when they see me whip it out. It's fun. It sells a lot of leverage landing nets. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Now
that's something I tell people. You know, pro practice netting. You
Yeah.
know, practice netting. When I have my Torpedo running full bore, I'll take bobbers and throw them out in the water, and I'll go full bore and practice how fast I can get my net out and catch those bobbers.
Yeah.
You know,
But,
it's like,
but I mean, that's one thing people overlook, because when you hang a fish, that's all, you know, and this is the last segment I want to get to here in just a minute. But when it comes to like kayak setups, you want to make sure you have all that stuff that's easy to grab, you know, and put it the same place every time, so you know when you're fighting that fish, because that's how you got so good at it, you know. It's
and
the same
also
every time.
and also able to identify what mistakes you're making or what things you need to change. You know, they're one of the things that I see a lot of people do is they'll lay, especially Hobie owners, you guys will know, you lay your net up front. Okay.
Yep.
So if I'm traveling forward and I'm fishing forward with a moving bait, and I'm reeling and moving and I set the hook, one, I've already lost a lot of power on that hook set because I'm moving forward. Two, I'm in a kayak, so I'm moving forward. And so I already don't have a good solid hook set. And then I'm fighting the fish and the boat's still moving forward, and I lean forward and bow to the fish and grab my net.
Yeah.
And so I just drop slack in my line, you know, and I've seen it so many times with people leaning forward to grab their net, the line goes slack and they lose their fish.
Well,
so,
you got me, because that's what I do too. Like, I'm bad about that.
That's why my net is behind me on the right side. And that's the side that it's not going to get hung on my cast or anything else. It's going to stay out of my way. But it's also, it forces me to lean back and pull this rod back and then come forward.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
That's big brain.
Yeah. Well, that's time on the water. You know what I mean? That's what that is. It's time on the water and learn it, like say, learning mistakes and fixing them. So, let's get into our last segment real quick, and let's talk about kayak rigging. You've done several good videos of kayak rigging, but when it comes to rigging a kayak, now granted, you've been running the 127 for a while, so you already know what you want. So your next kayak's basically going to be the same setup. You might change a few things here and there, but it's basically the same setup. But when it comes to rigging, let's just say, for instance, the P127, is that a boat you're going to take out, fish with it for a little while, and then start figuring out where you want to place stuff? How do you do that before you even start rigging a kayak?
Always. That's what I tell a lot of people is, and then do it one at a time, you know, one thing at a time, because you have such limited space to where you put things. One thing could change because you've got something else right here that is more important. And you know, your fish finder location might change, or where you stow your rods, or where you store that one rod that you need to have out in front of you while you're fishing this other rod, a good follow-up bait or whatever else. You play around with all the things that have to do with your rigging and where things go and things like that, for one reason and one reason only: to get 100% of the fish that bite to your boat.
Yeah.
And if anything gets in the way, dude, I remember those first videos of me in the kayak. That net and that paddle got in the way every single fish. And I'd be like, I got to figure out how to fix this crap.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's one of the things, you just you got to play around with it.
Yep. And that's something we tell our customers too, as well. Like, we'll have guys that never been in a kayak and they want it fully rigged before they even go out on this thing. And we're like, take it out. And then, because some places like the SS127, you had the luxury of having a dry pod there to put your graph. You know what I mean? On other kayaks, you're not so lucky. So you either got to put it beside you or rig, you know, figure out something. So I always tell people, if you plan on using a graph, figure out where you want it, because sometimes you got to drill holes to even run your wiring. To be clean. So you don't want to have it and get it there and you're like, crap, now I'm stuck with it, you know? So that's what we always tell people: take your boat out. We got one of our pro staffers, he just got the P127, and you know, we wanted him to take it out first before he even brought it to the shop before we started getting a hold of that thing. So
yeah, exactly. And with the P127, I haven't put your motor mount on it yet, because I don't know, you know, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to spend a few weeks pedaling it around and figure out how I want to do it before I jump into a motor and put it on there, because it is going to be a little front heavy. So what am I going to do to change that and fix that? And it just things I want to play around with, but I don't ever want to see somebody in a hurry to rig their kayak, you know?
Yeah.
It really scares me to death when when I do these videos with Fletch and I rig my kayak with Fletch. He'll get 3 or 4 calls or text or whatever messages within the next few weeks that somebody wanting their kayaks rigged just like me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
I mean,
I'm different.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's like we said earlier, whatever worked for you might not work for everybody else. So it's, you kind of got to get out there and, like the net position.
Yeah.
It might not work for the guy to have a net right there. He might want on the other side or whatever, it's so different. And the way you cast, the one thing I have never understood is I cast right-handed and I watch guys put grass on the right hand of their boat all the time. I see it all the time. Now it might work for them. I don't know, but I know what I would do. I would destroy a rod trying to skip one under a dock if I was sitting down. So I've never understood it, but I think some people just do it because they see everybody do it. And then they don't realize until they get out there, they're like, oh crap. This kind of sucks. So, but kind of getting into rigging and all that. How do you, when you rig everything, is weight distribution a big factor? Like say terminal tackle, like bass boats, a lot of guys, especially making long runs, they put jigs in the back and they put heavy stuff in the back. How do you, when rigging a kayak, how do you just like do weight distribution?
Well, being that I've probably already almost maxed out the weight limit of my kayak. I mean, even Justin at Bonafide, he's like, dude, we are so surprised you could put that much crap on your boat. And I'm still adding stuff. It makes it, I'll tell you what's funny is when I pre-fish, I run the Motor Guide XI3 on the front. I run the Torpedo 1104 on the back to give me maximum range and make it to where I can get around real quick and cover as much water as I can. If that Torpedo battery slides, it sits under my seat in the junk drawer. If it slides to one side or the other, I know it.
Yeah.
I know it because I feel a little bit more, and I have to reach under and pull it back to the center. So that's how close I am to having issues because I've got so much stuff. But with weight distribution with tackle, I have the Plano edge boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got the 2700s that stay in big boxes in my truck, and then I've got some 2600s that are empty. 7 of them that I travel with. And when I get to a lake, I look at the water clarity and that kind of stuff. Or Florida, I already know what I'm bringing. Mine are already packed.
Yeah,
for Florida. But I have those packed, and I'll pull stuff out of my boxes and just get what I need. Or what I think I might need. Now, pre-fishing, I might take a little bit extra, but that reduces my weight for my tackle. Same thing with my soft plastics. I got the little speed bags, and I put 4 or 5, 2 colors of this, 2 colors of that. And with me, I've got my confidence baits for plastics.
Yeah,
that I'm always going to have. And so that's how I reduce the weight. Is I leave most of it in the truck.
Yeah.
And then I take what I think I need depending on the water clarity that I see right there. Now, if it changes, I'll go back to my truck and get more if I'm pre-fishing.
Yeah.
So.
And that's something I've struggled with, and I'm still struggling with, and cutting down tackle for me. Granted, I'm in a Hobie. You can carry a lot of weight, but you still got to be careful. You can't, especially by the time you had a bow mount and all that stuff on there. You still got to be careful. But it's downsizing because I feel like if I get too much in there, you can spin yourself out there in practice or during a tournament as well, because now you got all this stuff, and you're like, just make what you got work.
Guys, I have caught a bass on a number 2 pencil. I put little screw eyes in it, hung some hooks on it, and caught bass on a number 2 pencil. If they're in the mood to bite, you can trigger them to bite on just about anything. As long as they can see it, locate it, and put it in their mouth, it'll work.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest thing is it's all up here after that. It's do you have your confidence baits? Are you able to fish with what you have confidence in, maybe on that lake itself? There's no reason to bring the whole tackle store with you.
Yeah.
And then also be willing to head back to the boat, up to the truck, and get something else if you feel like you really need to, and especially pre-fishing, and take your time.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, man, let's get in just a couple more questions, and then we're going to let Gene go so he can – he's got to get up early in the morning and leave, and I don't want to keep Gene too much longer because he's got to finish packing.
Yep.
Craig wants to know about your swan dive this summer.
That's a great one, Craig. And that's one of the videos I need to sit down and do. So I was on Caddo. I was pre-fishing on Caddo. He's actually after I left Edwin's house filming with him, I went down to Caddo where I was camping and fished a few more days. And I was standing up. I was just looking around. I had my right hand in my pocket on my remote control for the XI3, and I hit a stump solid. And I went forward. And one thing you guys didn't hear on the video was I went forward and started to lean over, and I knew had my camera right here in my belly, and I was leaning over my 2 fish finders, and I just said to myself, nope. And I realized at that second that I was not going to save this. So I threw myself in the water, which is what you do.
Yeah.
To keep from tipping your kayak as you're falling out, throw yourself in the water and then worry about getting back in. And then the reason I posted that video is because I wanted people to see that even a fat boy can get back up in a kayak in open water.
Yeah.
Even an overloaded kayak, but that takes practice. So as a teenager, I was a canoeing merit badge instructor. And so I knew how to open water reentry a kayak or a canoe back then, but a kayak now. And if you watch me, I kick myself up and I try to put as much body weight across the boat as I possibly can before it starts to tip, because that's when we tip our boats. You don't tip them when you fall out. You tip them when you're trying to get back into them. And so what I recommend to anybody that has a kayak is when the water gets warm, go out in your kayak, bare bones, naked kayak, and get out in the middle of the water and practice getting back up into your kayak. Fall out, time around, get back into it. Flip the thing over. Practice getting it back over onto its belly. That skill will save your life.
Yep.
Guaranteed.
My son flipped one in Sandy. He was just messing around. He actually stood up, lost his balance, tripped on his flip-flop, lost his balance, and flipped the whole kayak over, and me and Chris, we went over there. We had to, because he was, I think 11 then. So we never went through the drill, like how to do any of this.
Yep.
Plus for 11-year-old, it's kind of tough to flip a kayak over like that. So we flip it over and I'm trying to get him in. We end up having to push him over shallow water to get him in there. But after that, I was like, look, we washed the kayak up. I put it in the swimming pool and I was like, you're going to learn to get in this thing today.
Yeah.
We look like a bunch of rednecks. We got a big bona fide sitting in this swimming pool, flipped over trying to, teach them to get in it,
These kayaks are so hard to flip back over.
Yeah.
Jeff Little has a great video on how to do it. You have a rope, you climb across, you've got the rope tied onto the handle on the opposite side. You stand up on that kayak upside down, grab all that rope and just fall backwards. Because a lot of times it takes all of a man's body weight to get that thing back over.
Yeah. Especially if you got a lot of junk on it. You know what I mean? Like it's really tough. So yeah, that's one thing that we've always told people is like, like you said, during the summer, you need to go out there and just play in it. Learn how far you can go before it flips. Learn how to get back in and how to flip it. I mean, that's a must. So
I'm going to do it when I'm down in Florida. I mean, in this new P127, because it's different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get out of it. I'm gonna play around with it now that it's brand new. I wouldn't do it here at 450-degree water, but I'll do it down there in 68 to 70-degree water
with alligators.
With the gators. Well, I was with gators from Caddo, but that's another thing. That video is the second time I've ever fallen out of a kayak. Okay, the first time was on Caddo. The last time I was there.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. I was filming with Chad and nobody got it on camera. I had the film crew was there and everything else, but nobody got it on camera.
That I loved going down there fishing but that lake or that water system down there scares me to death with snakes and gators. I'm just like, man, I know. Cause I flipped mine at Smith one time, did something very stupid. Should have never, ever done it. And what I should have done was just fell out the boat and I'm trying to hold on and not go in the water.
Right.
And I totally flipped it over, but luckily I was in shallow water. But down there, I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do if I flip this thing down here. I'm gonna freak out just because all the gators and snakes, you're gonna go in panic mode trying to get back into the daggone thing. And that's
the biggest thing. Another thing in that video, you'll notice I never panicked.
No, you were calm the whole time.
Yep, I didn't even cuss. It's just, and the scariest thing was I didn't realize my motor was still running until I went around the nose and that prop hit me right in the life jacket.
Oh gosh.
And I'm like, huh. So I reached up and grabbed the plug, and that was my kill switch. Punk, you know?
Yeah.
But the thing is it's better to fall out of your kayak than to flip your kayak. So if you've lost your balance and you feel there's no way you're going to save this, get in the water and then get back in. You know, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, and you flip that kayak, it could be, because then now you lost everything, and now you're in the water a lot longer than you probably need to be.
Yeah, it's so hard to flip those things back over.
So what else we got, Chris?
Aaron wants to know, when you fish tournaments, would you rather fish the best areas that are crowded, well known, or parts of the lake that aren't as good but have less anglers?
Whew, that's a case by case, I think. I'm not good at fishing in crowds. First day on at the Bass Championship in Texas, I zeroed that day because I was fishing around everybody. I was on the fish. I was in the pocket and fishing the docks, and all the winners ended up fishing it. You know, all but the winner. All the other guys, the guys were all in the top 10. I figured that out just before or about the same time everybody else did, and I just couldn't do it. There was just too many people, and it got into my head. And the second day, I took off and ran 4.5 miles when my motor guide ran all the way up the back end of a creek and caught all my fish in an area as big as my desk. You know, I caught like 12 fish on the same cast. And so it just depends. Really, for me, I like to be alone, but if I got to be with people, I'm going to be talking trash and trying to get in their heads. That's for sure.
That's what you got to do.
Yep.
Let's take one more question, Chris, and then we'll let him go.
All right. Let's see. Here it is. Thoughts on the Bonafide P127 XI3 CH is selling Torpedo? Unbiased opinion?
Click that one up there. Let me see the full question. Is selling a Torpedo, unbiased opinion. From right now, from what I've seen, like I haven't been in my P127 yet. I haven't had a motor on it, but what I've seen, I think a Torpedo is going to run the P127 better, just from the hull design. The XI3 will work. It will work great, and it will be faster than the 127. Same thing because of the hull design. But I think having weight on the back is going to be better just because of all the stuff that's up front on that boat. And your seat's a little further up and that kind of stuff. Me personally, I'm going to try the XI3 up front. You might see me put the Torpedo on the back. So I run both of them. like I said, I run both the Torpedo and an XI3. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You know, if it doesn't work for me, I'm okay with it. And I think, you know, even though I'm sponsored by Motor Guide, I think they'd be okay with it too, because I'm not gonna lie about it. That's for sure.
Well, to add to that, we had some time on the water with it, and that's actually what made us turn to redesigning our mount when we first came out with it. Like, we took it out and we liked it, and it was fully drillless mount, but then the nose of that boat, not knocking it, I mean, each kayak has soft spots in it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The nose of that kayak's a little softer, so we ended up going through and drilling and just beefing up the front end of that boat. But like Gene said, that boat, if you plan on having a boat where I see guys say, I'm going to take XI3, that's just going to be my run to point A, point B. That's you're never going to use that motor for that. You're going to use it all day long, because once you figure out the benefits of it, you're not going to want to not use it, you know? So with that being a pedal drive boat, the way to really make that boat efficient for a bow mount is to take the pedal drive out of it.
Yes.
Because if you sit that boat on land, this is something we noticed. This is what really started making our gears turn. When you sit that boat on land and you got your pedal drive just kind of sitting in there, not down in the hole, if you look at that boat, you can see it laying down on the nose of that boat. Like, the back end is sticking up a little bit. It's nose heavy, but it's like Gene said, the seat's further forward. You got the pedal drive system in there. You know what I mean? You got a little more plastic up front to beef everything up, so it's a little more nose heavy. And that's why weight distribution is so key on these. Guys will sit there and run a kayak setup and put 100 amp up front, 100 amp battery. You can't do that. You're already adding too much weight to the front. I don't care what boat you got, a Hobie or whatever. Yep. So it's very imperative that you make sure you get the heaviest stuff that you have after you put that motor on there and towards the back. And that's what Gene was talking about with the Torpedo. You're adding that weight to the back. I think that boat I think it'll be okay with an XI3 depending on what you're going to fish. But
And the biggest thing to realize is that it was designed as a pedal drive kayak.
exactly.
It was not designed to have a motor up front. If you want to put a motor up front, go ahead. You know, and I'm going to try it. Like I said, it's just one of those things that if it's going to perform the best for what it was designed to do.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly
the 127 does great with the XI3.
Mm-hmm.
Are there some things I wish I could change on it? You bet I mean, I wish I could get faster. I wish it was a faster hole, but it was designed to paddle.
Yep.
It wasn't
That's
designed
exactly
to have a motor on it. So,
yep. And you know, like we told people, I think if you're just going to go out and you're going to fish an event that you don't need a pedal drive, it's a great boat for it. You know what I mean? As long as you got enough weight in the back still. But if you want a point A, point B motor, the Torqeedo's right for it. But like Gene said, it was designed for pedal drive. It's a pedal drive boat. And really, if you want to just buy a kayak that's going to be just for a motor, save your money, go buy the SS 127.
Yeah.
And it'll be a lot cheaper because you ain't got to worry about the pedal drive system. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
and it does work really good with motors, both the Torqeedo and the XI3. It really is a good boat for that.
Yep.
And so yeah, it's going to be you know, I think the P127 is going to be a great pedal drive. My only concern is my hip. I got injured in the Army. The last pedal drive I tried to pedal outside the Hobie was the Jackson pedal drive when it was still a prototype, and I was 2.5 to 3 weeks recovering from it.
Yeah.
And so if I have to do the same thing with this one, you won't see me in it very much. I promise you that. But
yeah.
And I've told Bonafide that too. I was like, hey, it just depends. It just depends on whether I can do it or not.
That's right. That's exactly right. Well, Gene, guys, I'm sorry all you guys got questions. Y'all could probably go reach out to Gene on his YouTube channel, on his Facebook channel. If we didn't answer your question, I'm sure eventually he's going to be a busy man for the next couple of weeks, but I'm sure eventually he can get to him. We tried to get to everybody's stuff, but there's a lot of them coming in here. But Gene, I appreciate you taking the time to join us, man. Good luck down in Florida. I wish you well, and like I say, hopefully we'll get you back on. You didn't win a tournament. We'll get you on and talk about your winning ways.
Yeah, that's why you haven't had me on there, because I have not had me on here because I haven't won any dang tournaments.
That's right. I mean, we don't know if you even know what you're talking about. You know what
right.
I mean? You won nothing. I'm just kidding, man. Well, man, like I say, I appreciate it, and safe travels tomorrow. I know the roads are going to be kind of slick in the morning, so just be careful and go down there and enjoy that shorts weather down there.
Yeah, if I can make it out of my road right here, I'm pretty good. Yeah,
that's right.
The only thing I'm worried about is the one that's right in front of my house.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. And everybody that I'm sure y'all know, but if you haven't, make sure you go check Gene out on YouTube. Follow him on social media. He's on pretty much everything social media. Make sure you go check him out there, subscribe. And Gene, look forward to seeing some more great videos and seeing some kayak review videos. I know some guys are asking about that, so can't wait to see them.
Yep. Yeah. That hopefully my rigging video will be the next one I have up. So I'll edit it probably middle of this next week or this week. So.
All right, man. Well, it's good talking to you, Gene. You have a great night, man.
Yeah, man. Take it easy.
See you, buddy.
All right. Bye.
All right. Well, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed that interview. That was fun talking with Gene. We've had a lot of good conversations with Gene. At ICAST and the Classic, and I haven't had the opportunity to meet him at other tournaments and stuff like that. But just to be able to, conversations over the phone, and he's going to be running some of our stuff again this year. So it was nice just to get him on and talk fishing and all that. Not so much of the business side of stuff. So I hope you guys did enjoy that. And like I say, I'm sorry we didn't get to everybody's questions. Y'all guys had a lot of great questions. It was really fun. And, but like I say, if you got more questions, we didn't get to them, make sure you go talk to Gene, on his Facebook, on his, Instagram, or also on his YouTube videos. I know he gets in there and he answers a lot of questions on all that stuff. So, but like I say, man, I hope everybody has a great couple weeks here. I know weather is it's cold right now, but it's going to start warming up. We're going to start having some of them good days. People are rigging kayaks now. Business has been picking up, so I know people are starting to rig. They're getting ready for whatever tournament seasons they're going to fish this year. So that brings me to our next point is, guys, make sure when you get on there, if you have a good day or you catch a big fish, or I don't care if it's a big fish, if you catch a fish you're proud of, share it with us. We love to share it on our Instagram. We share a lot of fish pictures in our stories on Instagram and Facebook. So share those with us. We love to share it with everybody else, all other followers, So also another thing, we started our Facebook group page. So you can go in there, and it's a super positive group. We don't want no drama. We don't want none of that on there. We just want everybody to be encouraged to get out there and fish and learn to catch more fish. And when it comes to kayak rigging, we'll have a lot of stuff on there, and also learn from everybody else, not just us or whatever. We want everybody to learn from one another on there, and just have a good time as well. We all joke and carry on, and but I just want to be a good positive atmosphere for everybody to come hang out and that loves fishing, whether it's kayak, bass boat, pond, it don't matter. Just get on there and share on. All you gotta do is you can go to our One Objective Facebook page, scroll down, and you'll see the group page. Just go click that. We got 3 questions on there you got to answer. We just do that just to kind of keep the bots out of there and the spam crap. Answer those 3 questions, and one of the admins will approve you and get you in there, and we're just going to talk fishing. We'll do some of our sales. Like you say, some of our sales come up, we're going to post it. We do it through our email. If you haven't signed up for that, it's at oneobjectivebf.com. Go down there and sign up for our email. Right now, we got our tungsten weights on sale. I want to say like 25% off. I could be wrong. I can't remember the exact amount, but I know it's at least 25% off. We also have some missile jigs on sale, not the swim jigs, but some of the mini flips and all that stuff. So make sure you go check us out at oneobjectivebf.com and go in there and load up on some tackle, because we're getting it. We're getting more of it, and we're planning to do some more ordering here soon. Craig says, great group to be a part of. Yeah. We have a good time on there. On our team text and group page, we normally have a good time with everybody. And I wanted to take that atmosphere and put it out there for everybody else, and just, have a good time with it. So I'm a new subscriber, but I've been watching your videos. Y'all have good content. I really appreciate that. We are really excited about what is to come for the 2022 season with just the vlog of our Hobie stuff. Like me and James want to record every single thing when it comes to tackle prep. I actually just posted a video on TikTok and on our Facebook Reels, and I think it'll probably be on our Instagram too, of just a pan through the mess that I have right now of getting ready for this tournament. I mean, we got right now, James is down there and he's working on our kayaks and getting them rigged up with odd and end accessories we're about to have on there. I can't wait to share this with you guys. I'm so excited. But also, we are going through tackle and getting things ready. And we're going to Texas for 2 weeks, basically. We're going to be fishing Lake Fork, and then we're going straight over from there after that event, from the bass event. And then we're heading to Toledo Bend. Lake Fork's super low. I don't know what the water colors look like. I don't know how clear it is, but Toledo Bend, I don't know what that. We've never fished on these lakes, so I got a lot of different stuff that we're bringing. Hoping we got everything we need. I don't know, but anyways, we're going to be filming everything. So just guys, make sure if you haven't, hit the subscribe button and follow us on there, because it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun journey this year. But other than that, Chris, is there anything? We got any other questions? I see some stuff you're putting up here, and
I don't see another question. Just comments.
Yeah. So I really appreciate all you guys tuning in tonight. It was a fun show. I appreciate everybody that shared it. If you haven't shared it yet, please share it when you get off here, and that way we can get more people, checking it out and learning from what Gene had to say tonight. So, but other than that, guys, I hope y'all have a great night. Stay safe out there, especially if you got to go to work in the morning and all this ice and snow came through your area. When you're out there on the water right now, the water's cold. Make sure you wear your life vest. We want you to go home same way you went to the lake. You know what I mean? Be there with your family, because I've seen a lot of stories here lately, people drowning, and it's because they flipped a kayak, and every single one of them is they didn't have a life vest on. So it's telling you something there, guys. I mean, I know I flipped mine in super cold water. I like to think of myself a pretty strong swimmer, and I learned real quick that when hypothermia starts kicking in, you can't do nothing. It's pretty scary. So, but other than that, guys, I hope you guys have a great night. I'll talk to you later. See you.